Professor Tahira Reid, who is going to be presenting the paper that was nominated by the Minorities in Engineering Division, that is Black in Engineering, How the Social Justice Efforts of Black Academics Affect Change. Tahira, thank you so much for being here. You can start when ready.
All right, well, good afternoon, good morning to those on the West Coast or wherever you are. It is my sincere honor to present this paper on behalf of my team of outstanding co-authors representing 5 different institutions and all 3 faculty ranks. Our paper, Black in Engineering, How the Social Justice Efforts of Black Academics Affect Change, captures the collective efforts of a larger community that came together in response to a perfect storm of events. Therefore, I would like to highlight 3 critical factors that make our paper an award-winning DEI paper. First, we made history while history was unfolding. As I mentioned before, there was a perfect storm of events happening, and some of that was alluded to in the first presentation. We had Ahmaud Arbery getting killed while jogging. Christian Cooper was racially profiled by Amy Cooper in Central Park. Breonna Taylor was killed in her bedroom. This once-in-a-lifetime pandemic that we're in the midst of. And then Black in the Ivory was trending on Twitter, largely capturing the voices of faculty in the humanities. However, with STEM faculty being so few in number, many would not speak out because they could easily be identified and there was fear of retaliation. So with all of these things happening and we were stuck at home in lockdown, it just all kind of created this perfect storm. But then there was a straw that broke the camel's back when the killing of George Floyd happened by a Minneapolis police officer. This next slide is a slight trigger warning. And so we all know what's behind this image. This image, though it's literal, is also figurative. If you were Black in America, and when this all happened, the wounds from the various knees on our neck were reopened because of what happened. And the world got a glimpse of all of what we knew all along. And so in the wake of George Floyd, we saw a global response to this heinous police brutality, and not just for the police brutality, but more so the cry for justice and fairness. Everyone was responding and doing something. Me personally, I could not sit back. Black engineering academics and other Black STEM academics recognized the various ways that systems rooted in white supremacy was a knee on our necks. We could not let this moment pass by without demanding change in the STEM Academy. Our mission was to promote racial equity, eliminate systemic racial bias, etc. And our faculty had something to say, and we needed to speak with one voice. Some of the figurative ways that there's a knee on our neck, I know this community is probably familiar with all of these items here, but Black academics don't experience much of what happens above the line, but there are these microaggressions below the line that are sort of like death by 1,000 paper cuts or spirit murders every day. And just like Fannie Lou Hamer being sick and tired of being sick and tired, this was the sentiments of Black engineering academics. They were tired of hearing the same stories year in and year out. We all wanted to make it better for those who would come behind us. And so with that, 3 of us got together and responded. In May 2020, the founders of Black in Engineering started with a conversation after a call to do something on the ARLN, our Academic Research Leadership Network listserv, and this grassroots movement grew faster than anyone could have imagined because people were hungry for this. For the first time in history, we had a critical mass of Black engineering faculty to do something. And just last night, we heard from a senior academic that said this could not have been done in the 90s because there just wasn't enough Black academics. And so this brings me to the second point of why I feel that we deserve this award is we did this to affect real change in the academy. We did not do this for accolades. We did this to meet a need and from a genuine passion of our hearts. We got together, we worked according to our strengths, and we got a lot done. I'd also like to give a special shout out to Carlotta, who's like the engine behind this whole movement. Her devotion, dedication, and hard work are unmatched. And in our efforts, we looked at new and innovative ways to promote our message. We did things like Black engineering faculty speak. We created a video on YouTube with collection of faculty across different ranks, different institutions. And we did this to amplify our experiences and to connect with allies, advocates, and sponsors. But even more critical than that, we got together and we created a call to action. We learned from the strategic plans of universities such as UC Berkeley, MIT, and University of Michigan. And then we also leveraged some of the work of scholars such as Ibram X. Kendi and others represented here. And so our call to action is based on 5 key principles: attitude, clarity, institutional accountability, personal accountability, and commitment to resources. And these principles set the stage for a set of guidelines that impact 5 constituencies at institutions. And I'll just cover the 5 principles now. So attitude, the thing with attitude is this: unless you first acknowledge that there is a problem and there's work to do, you will find that there is nothing to do. And so the key here is no matter what your past is, how ugly or how difficult it was, we have the ability to affect our future. And so no matter what our past is, the future is ours to affect and to change. The system is us. The second principle is clarity. Now, the thing here is a lot of times the term diversity just sort of dilutes some issues at hand. And so efforts need to be focused. You know, when it comes to our issues, anti-Black racism needs to be targeted. There needs to be intentionality. And this is also to say other issues are important. We're not trying to say that other issues of diversity are not important, but, you know, lasers need a single target. And so we want to focus on anti-Black racism. Secondly, thirdly, institutional accountability. We want institutions to move beyond statements, but truly be committed to sustain their efforts until success is achieved. We expect to see measurable goals for change and racial equity to be incorporated in their action plans. And then we also recommend that there's accountability through incentives for success as well as consequences for failure. Now, when it comes to personal accountability, we cannot outsource that to anyone. Every person at a university, especially university leaders, they need to make a personal commitment to understanding the effects and evidences of racism and work towards an anti-racist university. Everyone has to put in the work. And finally, when it comes to commitment and resources, universities should strive towards committing resources before creating committees or task force. We want to eliminate empty statements, and we just want to see a more sustained approach to addressing these issues. And so this call to action has been widely distributed, which brings me to the last critical factor that makes this paper worthy of a DEI award. In less than 1 year, our impact has been far-reaching. Our call to action has been presented to meetings with deans and other university leaders. There have been workshops. There are department heads that have crafted strategic plans based on this call to action. It has been disseminated across platforms. I mean, one video alone has 7,000 views, lots of community engagement, et cetera, et cetera. But to close, I'd like to say that this work is done on behalf, yes, it's 5 authors, but there's a larger community of Black engineers. And so at this time, I'd like to take questions.
Thank you, Tahira. Wow, you said take questions just as my alarm came on, so incredible timing. Yes, there are many comments of appreciation in the chat. I encourage you to look at that later, but does anyone have questions for Tahira or the Black in Engineering team?
I just wanted to say thank you, Tahira. This was really, really valuable to me. I'm looking at the blackinengineering.org action item list to follow up and to learn more.